All has been revealed for this year's Halloween Horror Nights, and I don't think I'm alone in saying that this lineup looks incredible. We have 5 unique IPs, 5 interconnected originals, plus Scarezones, live shows, and street experiences that seem to tie the event together in a way we haven't seen in quite a while. With that being said, it's about time that we talk about each of these offerings and rank them from least to most anticipated. Yes folks, it's time for the annual Hype List video, but before we get into that, I just want to say that this is based purely on my own opinion, my own taste, when it comes to haunted houses and scare zones at HHN. My list will look different to your list, so feel free to drop your own HHN 34 Hype List down in the comments below, and let me know if you agree or disagree with my picks. Also, just because I put something near the bottom of the list does not mean I am not excited for it. I'm someone who likes going into each and every experience at HHN with an open mind, letting the creatives do their work, and hoping to be surprised. I say this every single year, but this is especially the case for this year with this strong lineup, but I'm excited for everything coming to Halloween Horror Nights this year, and I think each haunted house and scare zone has some incredible potential to really deliver. However, I've been talking long enough and we have a lot to go over, so let's not waste any more time and jump right into my most anticipated haunted houses and scare zones for HHN 34. Now I guess the best place to start is with the premier attraction when it comes to Halloween Horror Nights, the haunted houses. And starting off the list with our number 10, we unfortunately have one of our original haunted houses for this year's event, Doll's Let's Play Dead. Now, I really like the idea that they're playing with scale in this haunted house, that we are getting shrunk down to the size of a toy and are going through this doll house and seeing all the twisted creations of this little girl named Lila. I also like that this is going to have a comedic edge. I am a fan of comedic houses when it comes to Halloween Horror Nights. Some of my favorite houses in recent years have been your Slaughter Cinemas or your Major Suites. Those houses that really focus on dark comedy, and I think this house is going to do the same thing. However, the concept and the description and just the presentation of this house thus far hasn't really done a lot to make me super stoked for it, especially when we have a bunch of other houses, especially when it comes to originals, that excite me more. I do think if they commit to the concept, commit to the bit, commit to the camp, we could see something really great with Doll's Let's Play Dead, but right now it unfortunately just has to be at number 10, there has to be something at the bottom of the list. With that being said, let's move up to our number 9 spot, which is another original haunted house, and that is Grave of Flesh. Now, I love seeing graveyards at Halloween Horror Nights, especially when they're done in an original context. I loved Graveyard Deadly Unrest. It's probably my favorite scare zone I've ever done at Halloween Horror Nights. And while Grave of Flesh is taking things in a different direction, focusing on these underground creatures, I'm hoping for some of the same vibes to be translated to this haunted house. We are starting in our own funeral and are going underground to see what these flesh eaters have in store, and I think kind of the vagueness of it makes me excited but also makes me a little hesitant, because on paper this could be a really cool idea, or it could be very derivative of previous houses we've had. Like Dolls, I'm hoping for something really unique with this haunted house. Horror Nights does have a good track record of taking these sort of basic concepts, whether it be a dollhouse or a graveyard, and doing something new with it, hoping to see that with Grave of Flesh, but because we don't know a whole lot about it and because it could be a little derivative of those previous houses, it's kind of why it's at the bottom of the list here. Now moving up to number 8, we have the first of our 5 major IPs coming to this year's event with Jason Universe. It's been 10 years since we've seen Jason Voorhees at Halloween Horror Nights, and I'm really excited to see him return to the event, but also getting a legacy house of sorts. Jason Universe promises to be a tribute to all of the iconic Jason kills, or at least most of them, that we've seen from the last 45 years of this franchise, which is just incredible. And they're also hammering the fact that this is going to be a scary haunted house, almost Insidious level, and that house was really great with scares. And I'm hoping the same can be true with Jason Universe. Jason is one of those characters that is so iconic that it's kind of hard to be scared of Jason because he's so recognizable. But let's put him in the right setting and give those actors the freedom to really get that scare, and I think we could have a fantastic haunted house on our hands. I am very excited to see this IP at Halloween Horror Nights. I feel like it'll be a first for so many of us newer HHN fans, but it's just probably the IP I'm least excited for on this list, hence why it's at number 8. Moving up to number 7, let's talk about the second of our 2 slashers coming to Halloween Horror Nights this year, and another one of our IP houses, Terrifier. Like with Jason, I think it's so cool that we're seeing Art the Clown come to Halloween Horror Nights. While Jason has been here before, Art the Clown is a newcomer and is really the hottest horror darling in the space right now. So with that being said, I could see where so many folks are over the moon that Terrifier is coming to the event, especially because this house is promising a new level of gore, a new intensity that we haven't really seen at Halloween Horror Nights before. I think this, plus the creative connection we're seeing between Halloween Horror Nights and the director of the Terrifier series, Damien Leone, really gets me excited for how far they're going to go with this haunted house. They said they're pulling no punches with Terrifier. They're going to show off the gory moments, the intense moments, Art's most iconic kills. And between Jason Universe and Terrifier doing this exact same concept, I'm a little more excited for Terrifier because Art the Clown as a killer is so unique because he's so expressive. There is a dark comedy in those kills. They are so outrageous that they're almost funny at times. I can't wait to see that, and I can't wait to see how elaborate these set pieces are, and again, how much those effects contribute to creating this off-the-wall, over-the-top experience. Now moving up to the top spot in the bottom half of the list, sitting at number 6, we have another original haunted house with Gulkin Monsters of the North. Right off the bat, I love the nosedive into Norse mythology that we're getting with Gulkin. It's a theme we don't see all too often when it comes to Halloween Horror Nights, so I'm excited we're really diving into that here. I'm expecting this house to be really beautiful with its scenic, but also deliver some intensity with its set pieces and with its scares. I like the idea of this house being presented as one that builds. These monsters are all building towards the greater evil that we're going to experience at the end of the haunted house, and I think that's a great way to structure a story when it comes to a haunted house at HHN. Also, props to Gulkin for being this year's cold house. We always love those cold houses at Halloween Horror Nights, and I'm happy we're getting another one this year. If you've been following me for a while, you'll probably know that I do love these cultural, mythological houses that we've seen at Halloween Horror Nights in recent years. They always feel fully fleshed out and fully themed in a way that is really great for the event and adds another side to the horror found at HHN. And I think Gulkin, with the different beasts, the different creatures we're going to see in this haunted house, and this giant shaman creature that is this looming threat throughout, I think we're going to have a really great original on our hands with Gulkin. But moving up to the top 5, we start with one of our IPs that honestly I did not expect to be this high on the hype list when it was originally being rumored and thrown around, and that is WWE presents The Horrors of the Wyatt Six. On the surface, this looks like a really cool haunted house based on some really cool lore from an unexpected place. While Bray Wyatt was with us, he really set the stage for a new era of horror to be found in the WWE, whether that's through the Wyatt family, The Fiend, the Firefly Funhouse, or eventually the Wyatt Six. And I think all of these ideas could really work in a haunted house, especially when it comes to the Wyatt Six themselves, which look to be the main focus of this experience. But however, this house is more than just a house. It is a tribute to the life of Bray Wyatt, someone who is unfortunately not with us anymore. This house has been years in the making and feels like a true passion project, a true labor of love from big fans of the WWE and Bray Wyatt's legacy. And that, my friends, is why The Horrors of the Wyatt Six is so high on my hype list. I am truly excited for what is in store with this haunted house, how they're going to bring the twisted world of Bray Wyatt, The Fiend, the Wyatt Six, the Firefly Funhouse, all those things to life. It isn't all too often when we see the creatives of Halloween Horror Nights express their true passion towards a property. This haunted house is being treated with such care and such love that I can't help but be excited for what's in store. However, it is not my most anticipated IP of this year's event. We have 2 more to talk about, and that's a great segue into my number 4, which is another one of those IPs, Five Nights at Freddy's. I am someone who has been familiar with Five Nights at Freddy's as a franchise since the very first game came out, and I always thought it was such a cool concept and would really work in a themed environment like Halloween Horror Nights. And it's crazy that we're going to be seeing not only Five Nights at Freddy's being brought to Halloween Horror Nights, not only the animatronics being brought to life by the Jim Henson Creature Shop who designed the animatronics for the movie, but just in general, a one-to-one recreation of that movie as a real-life attraction, a real-life experience that we can go into. Like, what world are we living in at this point? Honestly, when it comes to Five Nights at Freddy's, there isn't much to say that hasn't already been said. I am stoked to see these animatronics brought to life. I'm stoked to see all the special effects that are used in this haunted house. I have a feeling this is going to be a very special effects heavy haunted house, a lot like what we saw with Ghostbusters last year. Not too scary, but definitely a very pretty house to look at and a house to marvel at just how it works. However, moving into the top 3, we return to another original, the anchor original for this year's event, El Artista, a Spanish Haunting. 34 years of special effects, of illusions, of scare tactics coming together in this haunted house. That just sounds incredible. But on top of that, we have a tragic ghost story. This artist, Sergio Navarro, traveling to this very dilapidated manor that holds the spirits of the artists who were there previously. I think this setup for this ghost story just sounds incredible, and I think it's going to be one of the standout houses of this year's event. Not only that, but I did mention that this is the anchor original. This original is basically setting up the entire story we're seeing throughout the park this year with the conservatory theme. All the scare zones seem to tie back to that theme, which in turn ties back to El Artista. And it really feels like they're hyping up this original as one that is a perfect combination of story and scare, taking something traditional like the ghost story and utilizing modern HHN effects, modern HHN scenic design to really bring this idea to life. As excited as I am for El Artista, a Spanish Haunting though, there is one more original that has my heart right now and is sitting at the number 2 spot, and that is Hatchet & Chain's Demon Bounty Hunters. There is something about this scene when I went through Slaughter Cinema 2 the first time, hell, even when I heard about this house to begin with and they mentioned the grindhouse westerns, that just immediately captured my attention. I'm someone who loves westerns. I grew up with westerns, and we don't get enough horror western media in general. So to see a horror western take over Halloween Horror Nights, become one of those big originals at this year's event, bringing together demon possession with body horror, with cowboy gunslinging action, all that coming together to deliver a really fun time, which I'm hoping is really, really high energy. I've said this before when talking about Hatchet & Chains. If they match the energy that they had in that one room of Slaughter Cinema 2 throughout a whole haunted house, I think we have a banger original on our hands. I think we have a banger haunted house on our hands, and I think we have a really fun time that seems to channel that old school HHN feel. And that's exactly what I love when it comes to this event. And when I went through Slaughter Cinema, I thought it would be a dream come true to see Hatchet & Chains come to the event, and that dream got fulfilled. But this year is also fulfilling another dream of mine, specifically a dream IP. You probably know where I'm going with this. Number 1 has to be Fallout. The world of Fallout is so incredible and is so rich with detail, so rich with dark comedy, dark satire, unique character designs, unique settings. And I'm so stoked to see that come to a haunted house this year. Now, I know this is based on the TV show, but even the TV show really captures the feel of Fallout that I truly love. And I did enjoy that TV show a lot. I'm excited to see Lucy, Max, the Ghoul, Dogmeat, hopefully, in this haunted house. It's the fact that we're going through the vaults, into the wasteland, into the Super Duper Mart, through the town of Philly. We're going to encounter the Gulper. We're going to encounter the T-60s. Like, everything that I wanted from a Fallout haunted house, anything that I put on a dream map is actually coming to life. And I really, really hope they deliver with this haunted house. But truly, I'm just excited to see how this IP fits into this year's event, how this haunted house is executed, and I'm so excited to see this haunted house come to the event this year. However, haunted houses aren't the only thing at Halloween Horror Nights this year. We also have quite a few scare zones and street experiences coming to the event. And this year looks like a true banger. Scarezones look like they are truly back this year, and I want to talk about my hype for those experiences. Before we get into the formal Scarezones, I quickly want to talk about the street experiences as well as the shows for this year's event. Starting with the shows, I am definitely more excited to see the Lagoon Show come back in the form of Hauntophonic: A Ghoulish Journey. The Lagoon Show coming back was one of the things I was really hoping to see at this year's event, especially with how great Cinesational was appearing at the park last year. But I'm hoping for some good vibes in the Lagoon this year, maybe tying in some of those incredible IPs or just giving us an original story. Either way, I'm just stoked to see a Lagoon Show back. And while I am more excited for Hauntophonic than I am for Nightmare Fuel, it's still cool to see Nightmare Fuel at the event. I will admit I'm not a huge fan of Nightmare Fuel, I never really have been. It's kind of like a one and done show for me every year. But for those who love Nightmare Fuel, I know you guys are out there. I'm excited for you to have another show, especially because we're going back to the circus, kind of continuing the story from last year. And on the topic of street experiences, I am more excited for Mel's Die-In Zombies this year over Club Horror. Mel's Die-In has just become such a fixture of the event. It has become ingrained within the lore, and I'm excited to see it actually be utilized as an experience this year. With these two, we don't really know a whole lot about them, but I'm just excited to see what's in store for Mel's Die-In. I know they're going really hard with Mel's Die-In merch. Check out my previous video if you want to see me go into that. But I'm just excited to see, are we going to get a show? Is it going to be roaming characters like a little mini horde? Is it going to be a mix of both? I'm not sure, but Mel's Die-In is the perfect backdrop for anything at Halloween Horror Nights, whether it's a scare zone, a show, or anything like that. And I could see Mel's Die-In Zombies being the stepping stone to maybe seeing a full Mel's Scare Zone or even a house in the future. But I don't want to take away from Club Horror as well. Now, I have not been that excited for this experience. I've been pretty vocal about how kind of meh Club Horror does feel for me. That is because it is very ambiguous. We really don't know anything about it except that it is a party zone, a club zone. I'm hoping we get like kind of the vibes of Dead Coconut Club coming into the park. If that's the case, I think this could be really, really cool. But going into the main scare zones this year, because of Club Horror and the other street experiences, we only have 4 proper scare zones. And I'm excited for all of them, but we have to start with number 4, and that is Masquerade Dance with Death. Now, unlike with the haunted houses, we can actually kind of see what these scare zones are starting to look like, so that is kind of influencing what my hype is for these zones, if I'm being honest. And so far, this scare zone looks absolutely beautiful. I love the design and the decor happening with this vampire masquerade ball. I'm hoping for a more serious take on vampires than we've seen with Vamp, something a little different than what we've seen with Count Dracula and the Universal Monsters as well. And I love how this is tying into the gothic feel of the conservatory. This really feels like, out of the main scare zones, this feels like the one that ties in the most, and I think that's really great, especially as sort of a branch off point from the front of the park into Hollywood. Now, moving up to number 3, we have that front of park scare zone that is really switching things up this year, the Origins of Horror. Coming off of Duality of Fear last year, you'd think I was insane for putting this anywhere but the bottom spot, but honestly, Origins of Horror is looking pretty nice. First off, we already have a big change from last year in that we actually have set pieces in this zone, and not only that, we have set pieces that extend beyond the Universal Studios store and past the 2 Minion attractions going towards the Music Plaza. And it seems like the set pieces are really going to bring together that gothic feel, the conservatory feel, connecting not only that, but also the IPs of this year's event, because we're supposed to get IP statues in here as well. Combine that with a new Halloween Horror Nights sign that's going to glow bright blue, as well as the stilt walking crows from Hollywood and evil gargoyles with an impressive wingspan. You have a really great entry point, a really great prologue for this year's event in the Origins of Horror, and I'm just super stoked for that. Now, moving up to number 2, we have the scare zone that has gotten the most recent additions, and that is Mutations Toxic 20s. I love the 1920s feel happening in this scare zone. Whenever theme parks do 1920s based stuff in their different experiences, I'm immediately hooked. I like that based on the set pieces we could see so far, this isn't really going for the glitz and glamour of the Roaring 20s that we're used to, but at the same time we have the fantastical element of the mutations themselves and the BuzzCon or BzzCon element that does connect us with Bugs Eaten Alive, a house that I really loved from HHN 31. And based on what we've seen thus far, I have really high hopes for this scare zone to deliver something fun, but something unique and possibly scary as well, depending on how far they go into these mutations. However, that leads us with number 1, which should be no surprise if you've seen any bit of Scarezone progress in the park thus far, and that is the Cat Lady of Crooked Lane. And I feel like this is kind of unfair because this Scarezone has the most stuff, but it also feels the most fleshed out. You have the classic Halloween vibes, you have the pumpkins returning to the trees. You have tons of story details with these kids that are traveling down this old crooked lane on Halloween night, and this evil lady at the end of the lane that's turning them into cats. You see the story portrayed throughout the Scarezone, not only through the storybook pages, but actually the little details throughout the zone. And then even once you go past Central Park, this Scarezone continues. It's something that we haven't seen in so long, and that's so exciting. I'm so excited to see how that plays out. Are we going to get mini shows at the Cat Lady's house? Are we going to have a little mini maze on that little structure off to the side? This Scarezone feels so much more than just a Scarezone with roaming characters. It feels like an ever-evolving experience. Classic Halloween and Halloween Horror Nights is a perfect mix, and I can't wait to see how that comes to life with the Cat Lady of Crooked Lane, my most anticipated Scarezone coming to this year's event. With that being said though, I want to know down in the comments below, do you agree or disagree with my picks? What is your most anticipated haunted house of this year's event, or Scarezone, or show, or street experience? I want to see those hype lists down in the comments below, so let me know. What are you excited for when it comes to Halloween Horror Nights this year? If you like videos like this one about the past, present, and future of Halloween Horror Nights, updates, analysis, history, lore, and so much more, be sure to let me know by leaving a like and subscribing to the channel. And with that being said, I want to thank you for watching this video. Of course, I will see you in the next one, but until then, stay spooky and take care, everybody.